Another big controversy of the last week has to do with Fox host Laura Ingraham going after David Hogg, who's one of the students from the high school that was brutalized by gun violence on February 14th. She'd sent out a tweet making fun of him for not getting into some of the colleges. Now, we should point out he's 17 or 18 years old, but he has been very outspoken and very critical of the NRA and other groups. Take a listen to what Hogg had to say after Laura Ingraham criticized him, and we should also point out, she did apologize.
When people try to distract, like Laura's trying to do right now, from what the real issue here is, which is gun violence in America, it's not only sad, it's just wrong. From a journalistic standpoint, I would say that she needs to be more objective and needs to stand down, because I am not the issue here. The issue needs to be gun violence in America, but what she's trying to do is to distract from that, and I hate it.
So, Senator Santorum, at least 7 of her advertisers have pulled out of her show after David Hogg went on Twitter and started naming her advertisers, presumably for a boycott. And she's now on what Fox called a pre-planned Easter vacation. Do you think that there's an overreaction to her tweet?
Look, the reality is she made a mistake, and she shouldn't have done that. It's part of what I see as a real problem in American politics, which is the demonization of people, the personalization of politics. It's just, I understand that the president does that and sets, in my opinion, a very poor example. We shouldn't follow it, and that goes for both sides. The demonization over the last week has been on both sides of the aisle, and we really, there are important issues to discuss here on school violence, and the reality is we should keep it to those issues and stop the personal petty attacks. It's not helpful.
Mm-hmm. But do you think, though, she did apologize. She said she was sorry. Does that not matter anymore?
She's a grown woman going after a teenager and poking fun at him, not even challenging his position on gun violence, but going after him personally. She apologized, but I think that apology was more, I got caught and now my advertisers are leaving my show, more than being genuine. But the point is, you have a grown woman. And I agree with the senator, this toxic environment that has been created, and not just because Mr. Trump is in office, it is just, if you are on social media, it gives people license to say whatever they want to say about people.
Yeah,
and it's
I just gotta say, it's Easter. It bothers me that the apology was couched in terms of being in the spirit of Holy Week, and now we're supposed to believe that this was a pre-scheduled vacation because of Easter. If it wasn't a Christian nice thing to do during Holy Week, it's not a Christian nice thing to do during any other week either. And so if she is really sorry, she should express that. But I still question if she's doing this just because the advertisers walked, and what Fox News' position is on this, because you guys are right. This mean-spiritedness that oozes out of the system, especially from right-wing talkers, it's turned me off for a long time. I think other people recognize that, and it takes advertisers to bring it to their attention, then I'm for it.
And left-wing talkers too, by the way.
Sure.
I'm going to play devil's advocate one more time. Does it not matter at all that she apologized? I mean, is that irrelevant here? We so seldom see people acknowledge that they did something wrong. She did. She said that she wished that she hadn't done it.
So, Jake, I can't believe Laura Ingraham actually has a show. So, I'm kind of at a point where I'm there. She apologized. Look, and with free speech in this country, also comes consequence. You have the right to say anything you want to say, but it also are consequences to those actions. And so those advertisers are pulling out, and I think rightfully so. And I don't think she'll be back on TV after this pre-planned vacation.
I disagree. I completely disagree with that. Laura made a mistake. She apologized for the mistake. She has a long track record of responsible journalism, and she'll be back.
She also has a long track record of xenophobia and bigotry and rhetoric.
David Zerwick, are ad boycotts the right answer here? I'm personally pretty wary of this. I think it's dangerous to see these ad boycott attempts happening more and more often in this country. My view is, let's not shut down anyone's right to speak. Let's meet their comments with more speech. Let's try to respond that way. What is your view of these ad boycotts?
Well, Brian, I agree with let's meet their speech with more speech. But in the world of commercial media, nothing is more powerful than an advertiser boycott. The first commandment is thou shalt not lose thy advertisers. So if you feel you're a high school student and somebody of her stature is taunting you on Twitter. Look, there's two things about these students at Parkland that just fascinate me. One, they have a great moral authority that most people in the media don't have, and they have it because of what they went through. Seeing classmates killed, then having to mourn and bury their classmates and go on with their life. That's a great moral authority. They're also, especially David Hogg and some of the others, incredibly media savvy in a good way. So why you would go after someone like that and not expect the fiercest kind of pushback that he or she can generate doesn't make sense. So in a way, look, you're talking about a high school student. He's smart enough to know what'll hurt Laura Ingraham. And by the way, you're so right. It was almost a week, April 12th, same language in the headlines, pre-planned vacation that Bill O'Reilly left last year. On the 19th, they fired him. So that's a chilling precedent.
Yeah, the thing is, O'Reilly, it's so different because those were secret settlements and it was a national scandal. This was really just a stupid tweet, right?
Well, Brian, you know what? I don't, maybe it's generational. But I think if you tweet and you work in the mainstream media, you might as well publish it on the front page of the New York Times. You don't get to say it's a stupid tweet. I see that with a lot of younger people said, well, I took the tweet down after I saw that people were hurt. And I want to go, no, you published it. This is like publishing slander or libel. Look, to taunt this
She did apologize, though. She did apologize. I think the fact that these students are under attack in the first place, though, proves that they're winning, proves how much political power they have.
Totally.
Anthony, let me just get your take on this ad boycott issue, because you work at Comedy Central. You've been on the air mocking President Trump, critiquing President Trump.
Yes.
You could turn around tomorrow and see people coming after your advertisers. What's your view of this?
Well, I think that David really has it right, which is that it also has to do with the position somebody's in. I mean, part of speech is, in a capitalist society, hitting people in the pocketbook. And if you want to affect the way that, or have repercussions for how you speak out against somebody, then a good way is to remove their advertisers. I mean, I think one of the big issues here is that Laura Ingraham was not in some sort of capacity as a radio host or TV show host in that moment. This was a personal attack, but from the position that she has, you have to meet that with something just as strong. And I think the other thing that's really dangerous, in my view, is also this echo chamber of, especially in the right wing and sometimes in the left, of saying really egregious things simply to get attention. And I think the most amazing thing to me is that these young kids have more maturity and purpose than most of the folks who are trying to cover the story, especially at Fox. I find it a disingenuous argument to say that they've been put into or provoked into or paid into becoming activists. These are survivors of a tragedy. And I think you have to also take into account the idea that this is weeks ago, right? Maybe a month ago. I think it's a few weeks. Could you imagine going through something like that and having the ability to go speak in the Washington Mall and activate yourself while pushing into the back of your mind what you have suffered through? So I think that these 90s and aughts radio host folks who have now become faces of Fox News are realizing that acting like wrestling heels and just saying whatever you want is unfortunately not the way it works, and that meeting speech with speech is fine, but part of speech in our culture is money.